Hi again, fellow unlicensed thinkers. I have made a few videos and even put it in my book about how to never be offended, because there's just a simple process that you can go through that shows that you're never really offended. It's something that's in your shadow that's coming up that causes you to be offended. And so, again, I've covered that a few times, so I'm trying not to be redundant here, but I did have a real life circumstance come up yesterday with another person that I was able to, I believe, at least it seemed that way, show them how they could get past being offended. And I want to make it very clear, I have an amazing talent for pissing people off, for finding that uncomfortable truth that is the one that they need to hear, but that they're not going to want to hear. I don't know, it just happens. I don't go out trying to upset people or anything like that. In fact, the way I think of it, if I don't consider the person a child, then I'm not going to show them that disrespect of coddling them or hand-holding them. I am going to be honest with them, and I'm not honest in a mean way like, hey, you're a piece of crap. Don't do that. What I do is I point out things that I see to people. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that we'll get into that, because that goes into the whole idea of how do you make it so that you're never offended again. So what happens a lot of times with people, especially nowadays, because everything is so polarized and separated, and there's all this division going on. And so people end up, and technology does this too, actually, so people end up in these bubbles, like a search bubble on Google, or a bubble of friends who all pretty much agree with that. And so people begin to believe that they are very strong. They say, wow, look at how strong I am. Look at it, I'm incredible. But that's because you're incredible inside your bubble. And it very much reminds me of the old joke about winning the Special Olympics, which I'm not going to share here because I do enjoy having a channel. I'm quite sure that one will not go over well, but feel free to look it up. But anyways, people inside their bubble, they begin to get this belief of being strong because their beliefs are never really challenged, and they never really go and look outside of their bubble to see what the rest of the world truly believes. And so that's something that, like I said, I don't mean to piss people off, but I'm not going to coddle people. It just sort of happens. I've even pissed people off just by asking them questions and never actually stating a point of view. So, take with that, do with that what you will. But yesterday I was in a conversation with someone who considers himself a very strong person. And in that conversation, they both got angry and were brought to tears. And I did not apologize. And I made it clear as to why, because all I did, and I admit to doing exactly this is what made them angry at me, is I made assumptions about them. And it doesn't matter what, leave that part out, but I made assumptions about them, and this made them angry. And I said, well, okay, this is actually a good opportunity to discuss this in the real world, because this comes down to the 4 points that I make about being offended. And so I asked, are these assumptions that I'm making about you, are they correct? Well, no. I said, okay, then why does it matter? Because if the assumption is truly incorrect, and my favorite example, I know everyone loves me hearing me call myself a pancake, but if somebody refers to me as a pancake, it's simply not true. And so that's the same case with the assumptions that I was making about this person, is that that if my assumptions are incorrect, by all means, show me that they're incorrect. I don't mind being wrong. But the fact that it upset you in this manner says that it's not incorrect. And this is something that happens when we live in these bubbles, is we get to have these assumptions about ourselves, and we get to, in a sense, lie to ourselves about who we are, about how strong we are, about what we believe, about things about ourselves. And so, since that's never really challenged, you just continue to think that. And so you don't get to move to these other stages of figuring out why it is that you're offended. So the second stage of figuring out why you're offended is saying, that thing is true about me. That thing is true about me, but I happen to like that thing. And so I took this person to that second stage, and it's like, well, maybe this is something that's true and you like about yourself, but then you wouldn't have been offended, so we can roll that one out. So it wasn't that. So then we move into the third one. And the third one is, it's something that's true about myself, that I know to be true about myself, but I don't like it about myself. Okay, so what do you think of that? Well, they insist that what I said was not true, so therefore they have to deny that one. And they have to say, well, no, it's not something that's true and I don't like, it's something that's not true. I'm like, okay, well, we still already ruled that one out because you're upset. And the fact that you're upset says that it must be something true about you on some level. So that's where we get into number 4. And this is always the teaching moment, because this is where you can't just go and walk down the street and decide to do shadow work. Shadow work gets brought to you. It knocks on your door, kicks down your door, whatever it might be. Shadow work comes and beats you up in a dark alley and says, nah, dude, this is how it is. And so when it comes to number 4 is the unknown unknown. You don't know that this is an aspect of yourself. And, well, you don't on a conscious level, like it's something that you don't admit to yourself. But your unconscious or your subconscious, your shadow, they know that this thing is true about you. So when someone brings that to you and they bring up this thing that is true about you, but that you have denied and you have shoved into your shadow, this is an opportunity, because now you're being given the gift of being shown something that you didn't know about yourself. So there's been this thing in your head that's been causing this cognitive dissonance, and that's where the anger and the tears come from, is this cognitive dissonance, because it's the brain literally fighting with itself. It says, I believe this, but I believe this. And these things are opposing. They're complete opposites. And so your brain, it overloads. It starts misfiring. And that's where you get this lashing out in anger, this being sad, this whatever it might be, is you simply can't admit this to yourself because you're so sure that this is true. And so that's what's getting pointed out in stage 4. And so the way that you resolve that is you find another one of the first 3 categories for that item. So it can't, now that it's been brought to light, you can't really leave it in stage 4 because it's not an unknown unknown anymore. Now it's a known. And so you must say, well, okay, is this thing true about me? Well, it made me mad, so it must be true. And so I can't do this one where it's just untrue. And so it has to be in one of these the second and third categories, where it's true and you like it, or it's true and you don't like it. But either way, you have to accept it about yourself in some fashion. You have to say, I wouldn't have gotten mad if this thing wasn't a part of me. And so then that's where you get to do the work. You get to do the work of saying, is this something that I like and I no longer need to be offended by it? Or is this something that I don't like and I need to work on fixing it? I need to accept it, fix it, whatever it might be. And that's what happened in this conversation, is that these tactics that we learn, going back to our childhood of, well, if I cry, then I don't have to deal with it. If I cry, then I can get a confirmation of, of how I feel about this, or I can get a confirmation of what I think is true about myself. And so then you don't actually have to deal with it. You don't have to go in and do the shadow work. Or I can be mad. If I'm mad, if I get mad at the person and I put it on them and I say, well, you said something that made me mad. Well, now again, I don't have to deal with it because now it's the other person's problem. They made me mad. And so I wouldn't accept that, nor would I apologize in that situation. And I made it very clear why I was not going to apologize is because I did not consider the person that I was talking to be a child. And so I'm not going to coddle them. I'm going to instead help them with something bigger. I'm going to teach this person to fish instead of giving them a fish. And so in this case, teaching them to fish means showing them that this is not something coming from me, this is something coming from them. Because I can make assumptions all day. You can make assumptions about me. All fine. The only time it becomes a problem is when, again, there's that cognitive dissonance. And so you want to deny that it's true, but at the same time, your brain knows that it's true. And so, again, that reverberation, that misfiring, that overload that happens. And so I took that opportunity and we actually were able to continue having a conversation without the heightened emotions of that. Although if you ever talk to me in person, I seem like I'm super emotional just because I get excited and I have a good time with the argument and the back and forth. so there was that. But we were able to continue without reverting to these tactics that we learn as avoidance tactics. And so we were able to get back to that calm state. We were able to continue having a conversation. What comes of that long term with that person, I don't know. All I know is that this whole process has helped me. And so when in my life I get offended now and something causes me to recoil, now instead of running away from it and trying to use one of these tactics, or at least less often using one of these ingrained tactics to avoid it, I have learned to be appreciative of learning that aspect of myself. So somebody brings something to me and they say, hey, Cody, I think you're like this or you're like this. I'm like, am I? Yes, I am like that. Or no, I'm not like that and here's why. But if I get mad at them, like, how dare you say that to me? Well, that tells me that that's something that I need to work on, because otherwise, why would I have gotten mad? I mean, again, if someone calls me a pancake and I'm not a pancake, what do I care? Have fun. Go for it. Call me whatever the hell you want. And so I just wanted to share there's like this real world example of that. And it's a reason to step outside of your bubbles, step outside of the people who coddle you, step away from the people who agree with you. Have conversations, go learn things that have nothing to do with what you already know or what you already agree with. And look at that other side, because as you do that, you will find that when you run into something that makes you angry, you'll find that that thing that makes you angry is the thing that you most need to learn and the thing that you most need to examine within yourself. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and be sure to hit like and share the video or whatever. Pet a cat. Have a good day. Enjoy the sun. Whatever. Bye.